What's up, guys? It's MCD here with a new type of video that I'm going to do. I'm actually going to, this is the first of a series I'm going to do, which is going to be tutorials and basic information on creating your own add-ons. We're going to start with very basics to show you that you can get something up, running in your game, and do it without too much knowledge. So we're going to start with something real simple. Then that's something that I think is lacking in some of the other tutorials out there. But so the first thing that you're going to need is an IDE or a development environment. I'm using Bridge for this. I recommend that you use the same thing for no other reason other than Bridge will give you things that you're going to have to provide, it's called a UUID, which is a unique ID for your packs that you're making. And it's just steps that you don't have to do. So it'll format everything for you, put this folder structure how you need it. So I recommend using Bridge. You can find all sorts of tutorials on the internet, on YouTube about it. And this is what it looks like. I'm using it just through the web app right now. There is like a installable version, but it's still browser based. But anyways, it's perfectly capable. So we're going to start a new project just by going to Project, New Project. And I like to link these up all the time. It makes it like where if you have a resource pack, it'll automatically apply the behavior pack and vice versa. So I normally do that unless there's a reason specifically not to do it. Experimental features. I'm going to go ahead and activate a few of these. You don't really need to worry about it. I just do it so I don't have to go back in after the fact and activate it. Or if I start doing anything with experimental, I don't want it. This will give you tool tips code tips and things like that, and auto finish and stuff like that. So it's kind of useful. But for now, you can worry about that if you want, but you don't have to. Don't worry about the icon. Project name, we'll put tutorial. Okay, I always put for prefix whatever you want, but that's going to be your namespace. So it's kind of, so you want something short and something that is meaningful to you. All right, and that's it. So we're going to create. This will create what we need for the foundation of the pack. Okay, of the add-on. So what makes up the add-on is basically you have a resource pack and a behavior pack. Okay, behavior packs interact with on the back end of the game. They're things that aren't displayed through the client or the actual game that you're playing on your computer. This is stuff that doesn't happen there. This happens in the game logic or the server, depending on what you're playing, and is served to your computer, and then your client can take that and do certain things with it. And that's why you're able to do texture packs and things like that with the resources. So it might the behavior pack might tell the game to summon a sheep or spawn in a sheep, and there's nothing you can do about that to change that. As far it's going to happen on that server for everybody who's playing. But where you can change it is on the resource side. You can then, once you have that entity that's come into the world, you can apply different textures. So that's the main difference in the two things. One's client side, which would be your resource pack, and the other is what they call server side. So right now we're just going to worry about the behavior pack. I'm going to talk about today something that I don't think is covered nearly enough in a lot of the tutorials or other learning resources out there, and that's something called the tick file. Okay, the tick file is a pretty powerful tool that you're given in add-ons. It's just basically a function. It can be any of your functions. So a function, in case you don't know, is a command or a series of commands. So I'm going to do a new function file. And what we're actually going to try to build here is going to be a timer, like a countdown timer. All right, something really simple, but it'll at least get you in the hang of, get you used to using these tools and get you something that's going to be working in the game. So I'm going to name this function. I'm going to name this tick. That's what I always name my tick file, the primary one. You can name it whatever you want. All right, and then here you do need to know commands or know a little bit about commands, but it's nothing terribly difficult. But what we're going to do is we're going to set up a timer to begin with. Now the tick in the game is there's 20 ticks per second. And this is going to fire every single tick, this tick file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a execute Actually, I can just say scoreboard, players, add at P. That'll be the closest player. And we'll do things that like make this for 2-player or multiplayer and as we keep going, but right now we're just going to get a simple one going. We're going to add at P, and we're going to call the scoreboard that we're going to be adding to timer, and we're going to add 1. So every tick, it's going to add 1 to the scoreboard for this player, okay? So in 1 second, your score would be 20, because again, it's 20 ticks per second. Now from there, we're going to go, so if we have a 1 tick happening every 20 ticks happening per second, we're going to want to identify a second, which would be 20 ticks again. So we're going to do execute at A, which is all players, and then you're going to give it selector scores equal timer equals 20. Okay, so every time a timer hits 20, we're going to go scoreboard players remove, and we're going to call this countdown. And this will be that's be the name of the player's countdown, and we will call the scoreboard countdown also. That's fine. We can do the same. Okay, and then we're going to remove 1 every time. So what we need to do first here is we need to come back up here, and the first thing we want to do is set up a scoreboard that's going to automatically create itself when you enter the world. And we only want to do this once. We don't want it to continue to do it every tick. So what we're going to do is we're going to execute for every player, or for a player, and we're going to go look for a player that doesn't have the tag of setup. Okay, so it's going to try to find a player that doesn't have that tag, and then if it finds it, then it's going to do a scoreboard objectives add countdown, and it's always dummy. For now in Bedrock, that's the only kind of scoreboard you can do. Alright, so it's going to do that, and then what we want it to do on the next, while still on this tick, we want it to go ahead and take that same player that it doesn't have the tag, and we want to do execute at P tag does not equal setup again, just like that. Same thing we did before, but this time we want to go tag at self add setup. So what it's going to do here is it's going to find this player without the tag of setup. It's going to create the scoreboard, and then immediately after that, it's going to add this tag setup to the player. So the next time it comes through, it won't qualify for this execute here. It will have the tag setup, so it'll skip over the step. So it's so you're not repeating that over and over. So that's all that is. It's just a way to for efficiency kind of thing. All right, so then we're going to do that. We're going to set up our countdown scoreboard here, and we're going to add the tag to the player so it doesn't do it again. But before we do that, we're actually going to do one more thing. We're going to set that. We're going to do the same execute at P tag does not equal setup, because we want to give this a value. We're going to do a 10-second timer. Okay, so we're going to do player scoreboard players set. Remember, we're going to call this one countdown. Okay, so it's going to do that same thing. It's going to still find this player without that tag. Then it's going to do this, set the countdown to value to countdown 10. So that's the countdown is the player. This is the scoreboard that we just created here, and this is the value. All right, and then now we're going to add that tag to setup so it won't do these again. Okay, then this is our normal tick. This is going to happen every time, every tick of the game when we want it to happen. It's going to add 1 to the timer scoreboard for this player. All right, so we need to create this timer scoreboard also. we're going to do the same thing, execute at p tag does not equal setup scoreboard objectives add timer dummy. Alright, so now we've created both of those scoreboards that we need. So then here's our main, where the actual stuff that we're going to need to do outside of the setup commands are concerned. You know, this is the actual functioning of the executing commands that we want to happen every tick. So every time that it hits 20, it's going to add, or it's going to remove 1 from the countdown, okay? So what that's going to do is basically it's going to, you know, we're going to have 10, and then once the first second, it's going to make it 9, then 8, then 7, you know, so so once we do that, so then once the timer hits 20 and we've run that command, then we also want to do this. We want to execute at a scores again, same thing as before, scores timer equals 20. So this is going to be after it does the removing from the countdown. We're going to want to go scoreboard players remove, or excuse me, set at self timer 0. So it's going to take that 20 and the timer scoreboard that it's giving you, that's doing every tick, and we're gonna reset that back down to 0. So it's going to give it an opportunity then to count back up to 20 and then do it again. So it's a 1 second timer that we're going to have. All right. Now, all right. So we have that. Now we need to actually make the numbers come across on our screen. All right. We want to be visual on the screen while we're playing the game. So we're going to do execute at a actually let's do I'm going to change this real quick. I didn't think about this beforehand. I'm going to do we're going to do remove at self, okay, and we're going to set this one here. Instead of countdown, we're going to call it, it's going to be for the player. That'll give us easier execute ability. So now it's not going to be countdown, it's going to be this player at countdown. Player name would be the player, and then the countdown would be the objective. Alright, so then we're going to do execute at a scores equal countdown, or scores equals score, or countdown equals 10. Alright, and we're going to want to do action bar title at self action bar ten. Okay, that's simple. And then we're going to do this, we're just going to do this over and over. But this one we're going to do 9, and we're going to do the action bar for 9. This one we're going to do 8. You see what I'm doing? It's not too difficult. Okay, 7, 6, 5. Oops. I'll come back and do the other side in a minute. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and then here we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, okay, And the last one we're going to do, execute at a scores equal countdown equals 0. And this one is going to do, we're going to summon, not just, it should summon 20 pieces of TNT. We'll see. Summon TNT. Alright, so 10 blocks above us. There's one other thing I want to do. I only want this to happen here. This is where I'm removing the 1 every time. I only want to do that if the score is above 10. The score for countdown is above 10. Okay? So, or excuse me, above 0. 0 or above, basically. We don't want to do it. We don't want it to continue to count down after we hit 0. So to do that, I have execute scores 20, and then we're going to do let me see. I'm going to do a I could put it in the same one, but whenever it's a scoreboard, like a different scoreboard, I like to separate it like this. It just makes it easier for me. That's the only reason. So this score is going to be countdown equals 0, actually 1, like that. That means 1 or above. And then close that up, and then, alright. So that's telling it if the timer hits 20 and the score for countdown is more than 1, then we want to remove 1 from countdown. Okay? So that's this should work. Let's see. And, and then I also need to, here in this tick.json file, you can do the value and type in the name of this function, which is tick. If you name this function timer or tutorial, whatever, it would need to say that there. And you can also put multiple files in here if you want to. The thing about the tick though is you don't want to overuse it. It's very useful, but you don't want to, you don't want to fall in love with it and make everything happen through the tick. I'm just showing you how you can do some very simple, basic things through the tick that can get you actual working add-ons. Okay, so then we're going to go to Minecraft here. Play, and I haven't tested this. This is the first time I just wrote the code, so hopefully it works. We'll see. It might need it. It's not uncommon to have to troubleshoot a couple things, but this was pretty simple. It should, I think, work. Creative, advanced, flat world for this. Show coordinates always for me. I gotta have it. And then I also like to turn my chunks up a little bit to 8. Multiplier doesn't matter. Cheats, we're going to turn cheats on. We're also going to do no mob spawning, so they're not all over, always day, and then no weather. That's kind of like the basic, flat world testing settings. Available, and we called this one tutorial. There we are. And that should activate it over here too, okay? And experiments, even though we're not using anything experimental, I'm going to go ahead again and activate these just because I don't want to have to, if I do want to do something experimental, I don't want to have to copy the world and make a new one, or make a duplicate. So don't click this one though, or else it'll ruin the execute files or commands that we're using right now. All right, and that should be it. So let's go create. See, it should throw an error, like a scripting related error here. Let's see. Okay, you see I'm on the bottom there, the action bar, how it's counting down. And then here comes the dynamite. So, it's gonna keep going too. I forgot because I stopped it at 0. So we need to let's get out of there. So we want to fix that. Obviously, we don't want that'll make the game freeze up. So we're going to do a countdown when it equals. We're just going to change this to right here. This just needs to be 0, and that'll limit it to 20. So Control Save, and I could have done this without closing out Minecraft, but I didn't because of the all of the dynamite that was spawning in. But normally you can update the command without closing it out. All right, so there you go. So we can go right here now. We can go scoreboard, players, set, at self, countdown. We can do it to, I think it's, well no, the action bar only works if it's the one. So let's do 10 again. And then it should start, see my timer there starting again. And then when it hits 0, we should get 20 things of TNT, and that should be it. Yep. So that's how you use the tick file. So you just, as I showed you, you can make a whole add-on, a simple add-on using nothing but the tick file. Like you could do it where you could put a timer in there to go off every 2 minutes if you wanted to, and every 2 minutes you could have it do some sort of random event to every player. You know, there's all sorts of things you can do. You just got to be creative, and you can accomplish a lot by using just the tick file and some commands. So hopefully this helps you on your journey to becoming a developer and learning some of these add-ons, some of the tricks. There's a lot to learn, but you know, it can be discouraging at first. But if you just remember that you can do some simple things and do them pretty quickly, I find that's kind of helpful and, you know, keep you motivated. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you like this video and it was helpful to you, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It's a big help to me. I appreciate it. I'll have some more add-ons for you guys to play with here soon. Upload it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.